I will just remind them that we are on a path of sustainable success, and we using EQ, emotional intelligence, to get us to that level of sustainable success. But we've been dealing with a specific emotional intelligence, which is called self-awareness. That's where we've been. It's one emotional intelligence that we started with. There is 5 of them. We are on the first one. So the journey is long. We are deep diving, as you said. So for tonight, I just want us to start by saying, again, please help us understand what self-awareness is and what the opposite of it is.
Sure. In fact, it's very important for us to actually understand self-awareness. The concept of self-awareness is actually knowing yourself as you really are. This is not just the surface knowledge of saying, well, I love coffee, I love tea, I love my cat. No, this is about taking a deep journey into that picture. There's that person that we all know about you, right? And then there's that person that you have a picture of, that man that you are always working on. And then there's the one that you present to the world. So self-awareness is the actual knowledge of that man in the mirror. So it goes deeper than your likes or your dislikes. It's actually understanding your emotions. It's understanding everything about you that makes you act the way you act and think the way you think.
What are the dangers, therefore, of not knowing myself, of not being aware of myself, the dangers of lack of self-awareness?
Well, the greatest danger, my brother Rams, is this thing that we call self-sabotage. When we don't take time to learn ourselves and understand ourselves and become masters at self-knowledge, we will always have things that will show up and embarrass us. I call that the self-sabotage matrix, where because I don't know myself, I put myself in situations where I let myself down, and because I don't know myself, some things will always be sticking out about me, end up affecting my relations, that will end up closing doors for me, and that will sabotage my very progress in life. Right. I meant that, a lot of times we classify our feelings as good or bad, and therefore we avoid learning from them. We avoid the learning process or the part of that self-awareness. Whenever I think, that feeling, that's a bad feeling, I totally avoid it, but in avoiding it, I also avoid dealing with the underlying issues around that, And sometimes when it's good feelings, I don't actually ask myself the core questions. Why am I feeling the way I am? Why is that a bad feeling? What causes it? How can I avoid it? How can I empower myself to perform better? So we shouldn't be just treating our feelings as good or bad and then avoiding dealing with them. We need to deep dive into every feeling and interrogate why it's there. Certain people play negatively into our emotions, and you find that a lot of times it's one person that always gets you off. It's that one thing that always gets you off. And you always kick yourself as to why do I keep falling for that? Because I know that thing just pushes my patterns badly. But guess what? Self-awareness means once you know who and what pushes your patterns, then you know how to manage yourself before the event. Remember, whenever the moment happens, it's already too late for you to start thinking, what should I do? You need to have already a prearranged response, a predisposition of your response before you get into that. So it means once you know this and that happens, when that happens, this is how I'm going to respond. So that when you get into the situation, your system already knows we're not going to participate in that. We're going to go a different route. It's very important. It's a very important fact of self-awareness.
I like that, Dr. T, and I like it for the other work that I do. When men want to justify gender-based violence and they say, but she did this, but she said this, I now starting to think it's because we're not watching ourselves like a hawk. We then allow other people's actions to determine our behavior, which is defeatist in my view.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, this point really puts us right in the center, and it puts us in a position of responsibility for our actions. So you can't say she did this, she did no. If you watch yourself like a hawk, you will understand that the moment these buttons are pushed this way, this is how I'm likely to react or to respond. Therefore, you are in a position to manage yourself so much better. So when you watch yourself like a hawk, you are so empowered that you don't have to make excuses for yourself later on.
Yeah.
The challenge is that we've got these surprise emotions that come and then sit in the chair of decision making. And then afterwards, after we've sabotaged ourselves, we think, man, you know what, there I really let myself down. I'm sure I've said that to myself a lot of times. You've said that to yourself probably a lot of times. The question is, why? Why did you let yourself down? Not how did you let yourself down? So it's important for us to actually interrogate, why do we do the things that we do? Why do we do? You remember, Simon Sinek says, start with the why, not the how. If you understand the why, then it will be easier to figure out the how. We need to interrogate ourselves and say, why do I do the things that I do? Then once we have that knowledge, we are now intelligent, because now we can make the necessary changes.
And therefore, when we allow the principles to lead, the emotions become a result, not the leader.
They become very meaningful. Very meaningful. If the principle is, we celebrate moment, then the emotion of appreciation, guess what, can have its full expression, because it is based on a principle. And normally principles are good because they are not intoxicated by situations and circumstances. Principles are the best way for us to work our way through life, and then the emotion then follows the principle. If it becomes the other way around, we will become a mess. We will self-sabotage.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight, Dr. T. But I get it. It makes so much sense to me. It puts a lot of things in my life into perspective. And look, I know it's a lot of work that needs to be done. I don't suspect that I will know everything now, but it gives me a lot of understanding of how to handle things going forward. So we've got 5 more strategies to deal with next week. But it's going to be different. But let me start by saying first, thank you, Dr. T, and I truly appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure, my brother. It's a pleasure. Let's empower our people. I appreciate this.
The new Talk with Rams Live is here. Next week, we launch the new format with a live audience where you can interact with our guests in the same room. So if you want to be part of this journey, send us your details to admin@talkwithrams.com and we will invite you. Book now as the